So guys, when you go and open your presents, they come in boxes.
Yeah.
And what are boxes? Containers.
I suppose they are containers.
They are containers. Now, obviously, a box is fairly standard. You don't do a lot of kind of thinking outside the box with boxes. But
Jeez.
I know, genius. But one thing that is tailorable and adjustable to your needs is a Lion container.
Very, very true. Mel, do you use Lion containers?
Do you know what? I have been in a Lion Containers gym where they've made a shipping container into a gym, and it was brilliant. There were too many mirrors, I won't lie. But if I'm doing a deadlift, I don't want to see myself doing it.
From several angles.
Yeah, exactly. From every angle. Why a 45-degree one up?
Yeah.
I don't need that at all. Let me believe I look like Jennifer Lopez from the back. Just let me have that. But it was very cool, very insulated and all of that. French windows. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing what you can do with them, really.
Yeah, and if you want something that we can tailor to your specific needs, we suggest you go to Lion Containers, who very kindly sponsor this show.
Absolutely. You can check them out on lioncontainers.co.uk. Hello and welcome to 2025's first for Wales Sea Wales. My name is Robin Morgan.
My name is Mel Owen.
And I'm Will Hayward.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How are your Christmases?
They were good. They were good. They were competitive. they were fun.
I'm still not reeling over last week's horrid half a point loss.
I thought it was an outstanding quiz.
It was a very, very good
and the
quiz,
better
Mel.
man won.
Wow.
Oh, straight out the gate. New Year, saying Will.
Any New Year's resolutions for you guys?
Oh, mine's a really annoying one, and it's going to make me very unlikable. I'm going to try and become a High Rocks girly.
A what girly?
High Rocks.
What does that mean?
It's like the new CrossFit, but like you can compete and that type of, and it looks more like within my capability than CrossFit was.
High Rocks.
Yeah, it is a bit culty.
Yeah.
But I like weightlifting and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
but it's like that with runs in between. So yeah, so that is my New Year's resolution, to try and get into that.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you?
What, yours?
Nothing.
No.
Great.
Nothing at
You're
all.
perfect already. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that, but I'm happy with my lot in life.
Right.
I've completely I'm happy with mediocrity. I think
Brilliant.
that's it, right?
Wonderful.
I am not going to watch any Instagram reels ever again. That is I feel like I've just gained an hour of my life a day by doing that. I'm also going to be ripped.
Sure.
Decided.
Okay. You are quite stacked though. I feel like you've got
I actually put fat on in really good places.
dick.
So
sorry. Sorry. Needless. I'm really
It
sorry.
was there. It was there though.
it wasn't there.
Yeah,
as
I
well?
was thinking it.
As the
but
owner of the dick, it wasn't there.
Such a cheap way to start the year.
Yeah.
I love how many of my family watch this.
What are you going to do to get stacked?
I'm going to do. I'm just going to do weight. I actually really love doing like weight training.
Me
it's,
too.
It's quite, because I think weight training is something you can go and do when you're like when you're knackered. It's fine to go and do weight training. Whereas if it was like cardio, I'd be like, oh fuck this noise.
I hate running. I hate it with a passion. It's, people say it's good for your mental health. Like for me it is, because it reminds me how much better my mental health is than my physical health. The whole time I'm running, some people are like that, I just lose myself in the run. I don't. Every second of every run is like, I hate this.
It's a lot of time to be in your head, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you have a workout podcast or something you listen to?
No, I don't. I need music. I need to drown out the sound of me struggling for my life. It's really bad.
Have you ever been to the gym and forgotten headphones?
Oh, and raw dogged it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible.
Sometimes I see the same person in the gym who never wears headphones, who just like lunges in the mirror, just like, I'm like, you're gonna kill someone one day.
Yeah.
You're like, this is insane.
100%.
What
100%.
What you listen to, Robert?
I listen to sort of pop punk,
Do you?
sort of,
Bit
yeah.
of Bowling for Soup.
A bit of Bowling for Soup, bit of Fall Out Boy, bit of My Cam.
Nice.
Occasionally a bit of death metal from when I was into death metal.
Oh, I had a metal stage,
Did
kind
you?
of 2004, 5.
Yeah, I was in did you know I was in a death metal band when I was 14,
Whoa.
15? Yeah.
What
Has
is
it not come up on the podcast before?
I've literally, this hasn't come up at any point.
No.
What was it called?
Thank you for asking. We were called Black Despondency.
I love that.
I played bass and did backing screamer vocals.
What was your best song?
Decaying Skies was quite up there. It was quite melodic. The Unlawed Rides was probably our...
The what?
The Unlawed Rides. Sorry, Darren.
Black Despondency.
Black Despondency. I picked the band name, and we chose it by. I went on to genuinely thesaurus.com and typed in Death Wish, and Black Despondency was one of the 3 options that came up.
I'm obsessed with this. This is so great. New Year's resolution, not getting the band back together.
Oh, maybe 2025, bit of death metal.
Yeah, this is exactly what everybody wants from you.
Why not?
Yes.
Were you guys in bands?
No, but I did have very embarrassing YouTube videos of me trying to be the next Justin Bieber. I was like, I will get discovered.
No way.
Yeah.
What, singing and stuff?
Yeah.
Can you sing?
I can hold a tune.
Sure.
I can hold a tune. I'd be good in like a choir. But because I play piano as well, I'd like write my own songs and stuff. Yeah. So I do that.
Alicia Keys.
This is entirely what I was trying to be. And I'm very worried because there's a video out there on YouTube and I can't find it. And I definitely don't know the login anymore to delete it. Of me mixing Baby by Justin Bieber with, and it didn't work, Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses.
I love that.
And when I sang it, I really thought it worked as a crossover.
There was a point, and I think Glee, the TV show, was responsible for this, where mashups became like the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
2008, 9, 10, around
Yeah.
then. Love that.
Yeah, and it like there was one day where it became like the talk of the school that I was like uploading YouTube videos.
That's my fear.
Yeah, and I walked into school, and you know when you just like notice people looking at you, and you're like, "Oh, I look good today." And then I got to form, and everyone was playing the video on like the projector in my form room, and I was like, "Ah!" It was awful.
I once felt that when I was like my 3rd year of uni. I was like walking around Cathays in Cardiff, and I was like, I'm getting a lot of looks today.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm on form. And I'd had an optician's appointment that afternoon. I'd tried to wear contact lenses for the first time, but I just physically, I don't know why, I just physically can't do it. And they'd put loads of orange dye in my eye to see if it had scratched my eyelids. And I realised that I was walking out and there was tons of orange dye all
Just like
around
going
my
down your
face.
face.
And I was like, I look fucking good today.
Gets home like.
Yeah. Sort of like towy, fake tan, just all over my
With
face.
Napoleon Dynamite hair.
Yeah, exactly. Still rocking out.
Yeah.
Were you in a band?
I was. We weren't very good. We didn't even have gigs. We were a mashup of all our favourite bands, and we were called Bowling for Red Hot Tenacious Penguins.
William.
So, Welsh politics.
What did you play?
My secondary school, just a comp in Northamptonshire.
No, but with like what instrument?
I was lead singer.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Keys.
Yes.
Bass. Vocals.
Oh, wait.
For Wales, see Wales.
Wales, exactly. Yes. Guys, I'll start.
Please come
penning
to our
some
live
tunes.
show.
Yeah, we're going to start. It's going to be a mashup of David Ewan and Baby.
Okay, so today we've got some predictions about Welsh politics, about what we think might happen over the coming year. They don't have to be serious. Some of them, well, mine are deadly serious.
Yeah.
But I'm not very fun. So what we'll do is we'll take a turn. We've got about 3 each. We'll just whiz around, and we'll see this time next year when this podcast is gonna still be going.
Yeah.
Whether we get it or not.
Well, it's a big year, right? It's the last full calendar year before the Senate election, a big one. So yeah, I think let's see how smart we are.
Yes.
Cool. I've actually, I don't want to be smug, but I've had a good run with predictions. So I predicted pretty much exactly the result of the Labour leadership. I guessed 52%, 48%, and it was pretty much that. Predicted that Drakeford and Adam Price would leave last year. Not even last year, 2023.
Yeah.
And I've also made lots of wrong predictions, but I don't celebrate my failure.
No.
So,
Absolutely not.
We live and learn, right?
yeah.
Although you're not living and learning, you're just repressing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that'll be my epitaph. Will Hayward, he repressed a lot.
He pushed it down, now we pushed him down.
Yes.
So can I go for a bold prediction first?
Go for it.
Andrew
R.T. Davis joins Reform.
Oh, that was going to be my one.
Oh, well, you can still have it.
Okay.
You can still have it. Yeah.
I agree. I think
Do
you
you?
will.
Yeah.
I think it's nailed on.
He did an interview with Lewis Goodall on LBC, and obviously did his normal.
It's like he's in the room.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he was asked, "Will you be joining?" He said, "Well, I said I was born blue and I'll die blue, but obviously
Oh,
both the
God.
Tories and Reform are blue.
Yeah, and also there's some time in between that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the intervening years,
There
Andrew.
are times between birth and death.
Yeah, because he's gone quite pink and red in the intertwining years. Yeah, that's such a I'm so smart giving this answer, and look, I can point back to this in X amount of years. Isn't
Yes.
it?
Oh, it's it really. And he actually got pushed on it. He was like, and he said to Lewis, he was like, make of that what you will. And he was like,
Oh, he thinks he's so.
but then he said, no, I want you to answer the question. Make of that what you will.
I'm blue. I'm blue.
Like he's some kind of mage as you cross a bridge. You have to
yeah.
answer questions. Make of that what you will.
Answer his bloody trivia question.
Yeah,
That's
but-
funny.
But the Riddler.
The language of the farm.
Yeah, the language of the farm and the pub. I think it would make complete sense for him too. I think that's kind of where his political outreach has got to in the last few years anyway, as Tory leader. And I feel like that's where he gets his support from.
And like, hear me out. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, I think he goes to Reform where he kind of suits. Do you know what I mean? Like, and maybe give the Conservative Party a chance to make themselves nearly credible. You know, if he's out the way and he's at Reform, those who do like support him and vote for him can vote for him there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Do you think Reform would take him? Welsh Reform? Do you think that looks good for them to have?
Yes.
You know, in this kind of. Do you think
I-
in terms of credibility?
I really think the fact that they're like, because they'd be like, look, even the Conservative, like, you know, he was Conservative leader and he wants to come to us.
Yeah.
Look what a joke the Conservatives are.
They took Lee Anderson.
They'll take anybody.
Yeah, no, that's true. I just wonder in terms of the fact that like we are the party of rebellion and opposition.
If they say we are the answer to the failing Welsh Tories, and then the failing Welsh Tory leader joins them, it is a bit.
that's
like,
that. I mean that's.
But
a good
I
line
think they
for
would
Pride
take
and
him.
Labour,
Yeah.
right?
I think they take him. Just
And I think he'd almost go, no, they're failing. I left, you know,
Yeah.
because bear in mind, like, they didn't kick him out. He chose to stand down. Kind of had to, but he chose to resign.
Yeah.
And he'll go, yeah, because they're just not the party that I want to be leading anymore.
He said basically laid the groundwork for this, saying if my party leaves me. So it's basically
Yeah.
but the Conservatives are just they've lurched to the left. They haven't,
Yeah.
obviously.
Famously, very woke now.
It's very when you're a teenager and a boyfriend girlfriend break up, and it's like, no, who dumped who? It's
Yes,
that kind of
yeah.
energy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, they as well with obviously the failing. I mean, let's be honest. Wildly unpopular leader goes to Reform. Fine, that's fine. It actually could be a really good thing for the Welsh Tories because they go, well,
Yeah.
that isn't us now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
There is,
we've
there is an
cleared that
opportunity
wood out.
there.
Yeah.
I was thinking about whether he'd do it because obviously, like, and I've just come to the conclusion he loves the green stuff. He loves the money so much, and it's a chance to be. I wonder if he would want to be like made like Reform leader, like Reform's Wales leader.
Yeah.
I imagine there'd be people in Reform who'd be pretty annoyed that
Yeah.
and I also don't know if they're even going to bother naming a leader because all they want it to be is Brand Farage.
True.
So I wonder what they can offer him. But
Yeah.
I've been iffing and ahhing on it. I think he's going to. When I've heard some of the more recent stuff, basically because it's a chance for like he's going to get put at the top of a list. I mean, it'd be top of a list for Conservatives as well. I can just see him. I mean, he's just drank the populist Kool-Aid, hasn't he? Just necked it, and I can't see him wanting to stop guzzling.
And the thing is, as well, oh god, Happy New Year. Also, like, he can go to Reform and still do stupid tweet or X or whatever
Yeah.
we're calling them now, and he can still say the racist dogs thing and all of that. And he's, you know, I imagine within his own party there were people kind of not having a go, but being a bit like, "Can you not?" Whereas in Reform, they're probably just going to egg him on, and he's going to enjoy that. So maybe go somewhere where you belong.
You know, the people who would have done his tweets for him, like his team, they're Conservative Party employees, right? Or are they sort of like freelance? I feel like it's like a 1960s gang.
Yeah,
where they're
that
like,
would-
get him, RT.
I think that's probably what they think
Yeah.
they are as well. Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
Yeah. Going
Yeah.
everywhere, dress as fucking Peaky Blinders for no good reason.
I think you're right. And yeah, the people around him tend to be. I mean, one of the issues was he's surrounded by people who weren't like MSs; they were like staff. That's
Yeah.
why he did a lot. So, Mel, do you have any predictions?
Yeah, so, okay, sticking on the Conservative theme, I reckon that the Conservatives will get rid of Darren Miller before the year is out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Producer Daryl sat up at that suggestion.
I think he's going to do a Paul Davis and be there for 5 minutes. I think that they'll feel some stripe. They'll just be pleased that Andrew's gone. And they were like, right, let's just get Darren Miller in. Boom. And it kind of alludes what you were saying a couple of episodes ago when they never had a conversation about what they want to be. And I wonder now if there will be some thought, and especially as the Conservatives they're not really, probably, this is my prediction, going to do much better in polling in the short-term future. So I wonder if there is going to be a source of frustration going, hang on, like we've got rid of the clown, we should be doing better than this. And I just don't know from what I've seen of Darren Miller or researched up till now that he is, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing strong about him. So I wonder if one of the new, more talented intake are going to go, this could be me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that should be. The only thing I would say that might stop it is that everyone wouldn't want to be leader before they get fucking destroyed in 2026.
Yeah.
But I actually think that's I like that call.
Because there could be illusions of grandeur where somebody will think, hang on, if I lead us, we won't get destroyed.
Yeah.
You know, and the ghost of the last general election would have passed quite a bit by then.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Someone wants a profile raise before they run for Westminster, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, Keir Starmer is probably going to have to keep making some unpopular choices in this year. So, you know, that's going to damage the Labour brand everywhere. So, yeah, that's just, I think that could happen.
I like it.
I think that would be pretty big.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised, but I think people will keep their powder dry until 2026, I think. And maybe try and get in front. I think a couple of months before the May elections, I reckon you'll see the people start to come out of the woodwork and do a lot of press. Yeah. So when Miller has to step down, then they'll go, I'm the obvious choice. I've got the airtime. Yeah. But who knows?
Yeah.
Stranger things have happened, right?
Yeah.
And I think, but I can't see people wanting to take that. We're going to be the fourth largest party.
Yeah.
It's like taking over a football team just before they're relegated.
Yeah, totally. You need that.
I always am a little bit suspicious as well, because of things that we've seen previously, of especially politicians, but kind of, you know, public figures in general, who put themselves on such a moral high ground that they end up being the ones that get cancelled, because it's the people who come out, I'm a family man, I'm a man of values. They're always the ones who have done something a little bit dodge. And you know, it's just a pattern, and it is my red flag. I don't know what it's like, a woman's sixth sense. Whenever a man is a bit too preachy about how good he is and how moral he is, they tend to be the worst ones. I'm not saying that's Darren Miller, and I have absolutely no evidence to base this on, but I am suspicious.
That last bit of a sentence means we can probably keep that in the edit.
Brilliant. Great. It's almost like I've done this before.
Yeah. It's not our first time.
It's like I'm a seasoned broadcaster, for sure. Yeah. Okay, what else do we have? Will, what else are you thinking?
Did you want to do... I stole yours, didn't I?
But I've got another one. I think that Reform will choose a leader in Wales, and I think it'll be Oliver Lewis.
He is their, basically the only one who talks about policy.
Yes. I think he is former big guy in Vote Leave, I think. He tried to become the MP for Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr. He was the Reform candidate there, and he got beaten by the milk drinking MP. But I think that in terms of communicators within the Reform Party in Wales, I think he's up there.
He sounds sane when you hear him talk.
And I think he's a very good communicator, and I think that he sort of gets what they're trying to do without being one of the mad ones.
He has the intellect to almost package it in a way that doesn't sound completely mental.
And I would argue more than R.T. Davis does.
I would agree with that. I interviewed him at the Reform conference in Celtic Manor, and he's... Even if you disagree with his politics, he's at least thoughtful and engaging and doesn't talk about the Somme.
Yeah,
sure.
Always helpful. Would you say, I know very, very little about him. Would you say he is like to Reform what J.D. Vance is to Trump? He's
more to Reform what, I can't remember the names, you know, like the kind of people who will debate. They're like Trump supporters, but they'll go and debate with like college students and
I've
stuff
seen
like
these,
that.
yeah.
I think he's more thoughtful than JD Vance and less into sofas.
On that basis, is it Ben Shapiro, isn't it?
Yeah, people like that.
Yeah. Have you seen? He's got like this thread on TikTok of him like reviewing Broadway musicals. Right? I was watching, I got really engrossed. He did like a 12-minute video of him talking about the new Wicked film.
Right.
And I was
bet he
like,
loves it.
Do you know what? He absolutely does.
I saw it recently. It's fucking brilliant, isn't it?
Do you know what? But what was so funny, I was like, if this Ben Shapiro was around, he'd be a great guy, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it just goes to prove, because I watch him, I want to headbutt a wall when I see him talk sometimes. But I'm like, if he could just be this guy, you leave all the other shit behind. And it was so funny. I was like, if somebody didn't know who Ben Shapiro was and was scrolling TikTok and saw this video, they'd be so surprised to then know who he actually is,
Yeah, I think what those primarily guys do, those kind of thinkers, conservative thinkers, they go and debate with like college students.
Yeah.
And actually, like college students aren't very good at debating.
Pick someone of your own size.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then they're smart in that they're good at seeming kind of intellectual and like thoughtful and stuff. But essentially, they're just better at like thinking on their feet and essentially staying on message than people who are just like, I'm really annoyed with you.
Yeah.
And I know what you're saying, but I can't articulate why.
He's almost like the embodiment of why the right do so well, in that people who are on the left tend to be worse at arguing. And it's because they are more emotionally invested. And that's not a bad thing because they realise the human cost to a lot of what happens in politics. But in that way, then, a lot of, very broad brush, but a lot of debates you see, the people who are more left-wing tend to not do as well or come across as well because they are more emotionally invested. They are saying things from an emotional point of view, whereas people who are more right-wing, they sit back and they consider it and they stay on message because they can't waver from it. And I think that's where he does well.
I think the idea of sort of being better at arguing now is kind of relative because you see, like, there was a question time a couple of weeks ago where the same clip, I think Farage was on it and Alistair Campbell, that one, and the same clip was getting, I saw like quote tweeted from like, look, Alistair Campbell's been owned here, Farage has been completely ruined here, from the same clip. And I think people are, and I've said this before, and it's something that really worries me. Everyone's so entrenched in their view that it's near impossible. I think it's going to be an incredibly difficult place to get everybody back into a sort of more nuanced way of thinking about politics. I think people are so entrenched in stuff that it's going to take a generation or so to get A, trust back into politics, and B, the idea that there can be nuance to certain arguments.
Yeah.
Well, they would talk about how X, in their algorithm, they show people who tend to be more left-leaning things that let me get this the right way around. They show left-leaning people things that they disagree with because they're more likely to click on it. And they show right-wing people things that they agree with because they're more likely to click on it.
Interesting.
And I think that kind of feeds off your point that you could look at the exact same thing and interpret it exactly how you want to in your psychology.
That's interesting that people on the left want to get annoyed.
They want the rage. They want to, right when people go, yes, I am right.
Yeah. That's fascinating that they don't do this, that clearly people on the right don't want to be hate clicking on something, whereas the people on the left do.
Yeah. Well, it's almost because you'd assume that they want to be enraged by what, illegal immigrants do this and they click on it like, But those articles are just backing up what they already think. They're not telling them they're wrong. They're not going to click on an article that says, immigrants bring a wealth of things to this country. They're probably not as likely to click on that.
Yeah.
Which I find very worrying. And I think on what you were saying in terms of we're so entrenched, what I worry in Western politics generally is that we're not allowed to say, do you know what, I did have this opinion and it was valid at the time. Now I've got more information or the situation's changed, I've kind of changed my opinion.
Yeah, and I might change it again in 5 years.
Yeah, and that is okay.
Yeah, I always feel like politics fundamentally should be, here is a problem. We both want to solve this problem. We just disagree with how we're going to get there. But then when you have people who say, well, I actually would argue that this isn't even a problem, or you're lying about this problem, or you are doing this problem is only a problem because of your worldview, and it's like everything becomes so kind of twisted, doesn't it? And it's a hard thing to follow.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did these brief predictions.
Yes, exactly.
Can I give you one about Labour?
Yeah.
I think that come the spring, the polls will still be looking bad, and Welsh Labour will say to UK Labour, oh my God, throw us a bone here. And then UK Labour will make a big deal about the HS2 stuff, and they'll try and be like, right, we're going to right this wrong. And whereas Wales should get about 4 billion, they'll give Wales like 300 million for like rail. So like a very small percentage of what we should get. And then they will expect people to be like really happy about it, and they'll think, look what we've done. Whereas actually it'll turn out to be essentially less than what Wales is even owed on a kind of population basis, and it won't even come close to the HS2 shortfall. And essentially Welsh Labour will have to try and spin it as, look how good things have been, and it'll be really obviously not enough, and actually it'll make things worse.
And Plaid then will be able to go, look, you think this is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, if someone owed you a tenner and they gave you 30p back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
that
would
was
you
kind of my other prediction, and that Plaid will really kind of almost get quite, not nasty, because I don't think they're nasty politics, but I think they'll see that they need to, as an electoral machine, need to actually now fight Labour.
Yeah.
Like, and I think they need to start being more on the attack, and I wonder if that's how it
some
will
dividing lines between this is
Yeah.
why like your
Yeah.
vote isn't interchangeable here. This is why you should give us your vote.
be. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
know they would never say this, but I wonder if their politics will get a little bit dirtier.
Nice, I like that. I don't like politics getting dirty, but I like that as a prediction.
Yeah.
Another one of mine is that I think Labour will be polling a little. I think Reform and Plaid will be 1 and 2.
Really?
Yeah,
You think,
I think
they've
will
got further to drop?
I think Labour will drop to 3rd.
Ooh,
Interesting.
hot take.
Yeah, and I kind of what we were saying earlier about the Keir Starmer thing, and I think that because they're early in their time period, like there's a long time before the next general election, so they can do unpopular things now, and that will just have a ripple effect in Wales because people don't understand devolution generally. Like even I couldn't tell you what is entirely devolved.
I think a few weeks ago, Starmer's dissatisfaction was at 65%.
Yeah.
Like it falls quickly, doesn't it?
That is going to have
And it rises
repercussions.
slowly.
Yeah.
It's going to have repercussions.
I think Labour will also, there will be a drop in the longest waits, so the 2-year NHS waiting list waits. It won't be like as much as they hope, but it will be substantial, and they will think this is good, and the electorate will just not care. They think that will, they think that everyone's desperate to vote Labour, but the waiting lists are stopping them. And if they can only fix those waiting lists, it'll go up, and then they're going to be really disappointed. So essentially, they're going to nearly do a few things. They're going to nearly do HS2 funding properly. They're going to nearly fix the waiting lists. And it's going to be like with Sunak and inflation. You saw it go down to about 2% and thought, well, I'll call a general election now. And everyone will be like, well, the fact that I've now just had my operation, or my nana has just had their operation, and it doesn't mean I now love you.
No, the legacy is already formed, I would say.
Yeah, and also just clearing the longest waits doesn't mean there's not a hell of a lot of people still waiting. It just means they're not waiting for over 2 years.
And this thing is as well, like even if they shed loads of money, the public won't feel the effects of that in time.
Yeah. At least I suppose what Starmer's got is
Time.
Yeah.
He's got time on his not on his hands, definitely not on his side.
Yeah.
I've got a little light-hearted one.
Gone.
Thank God.
I know. I think Mark Drakeford is going to become an influencer.
Yeah.
I do. I think he's got this lovely. Did you see that? Like that trend that was like, when you get the Gen Z marketing to like get like the company like director or something to start doing like Gen Z lingo in front of things, being like, this is popping off, Slay Queen. I see him doing that. I think he needs to start a podcast with young Gen Z. And I think the dynamic between the two of them will be brilliant. And I just think it will be and I think he's got a lovely speaking voice. It'll be very soothing. And I could just see him on TikTok.
Is he going to do those pre-meeting things where they're like, cardigan, jumper, some cheese. Cardigan, jumper, some cheese.
Yeah, jumping on every single trend.
Yes, every single trend. Yeah, I it's not so much a prediction, it's a hope.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it would be a lovely thing for him to do.
So that was something you'd want to happen.
Yeah, if anything, actually, that's something I want.
I mean, I thought he was going to release a cheese board this year, and I was waiting. I was in every single department store going around. Christmas Eve, still going around.
Rob was looking around John Liver's like, come on.
Yeah, come on.
Mark Drakeford.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you'd want to happen, but you're not sure if it will?
I would like there just to be, I think, more communication with voters and things to sort of really break through. I think whether it's through old media or new, it would be nice to feel like more people are talking about it, more people are aware of stuff. I feel like this is a really pivotal year, and I think vote however you want, but vote informed. And I think the information has to be presented in an incredibly smart way, and I'd like there to be an absolute blitz. And I feel like it's a responsibility of a nation and its media to get stuff out there, because I feel like at the moment we're kind of sleepwalking into an incredibly low turnout with incredibly low information and a low stand of politics. This isn't particularly hopeful, but
you are right. You are completely
but
right.
I'd like there to be a real drive for that.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have. I think things that would make that is like some actual clear, distinctive policies. Like this is, if you vote for us, this is what we want more than anything. We will do this. And I think that actually motivates people, because we spoke a couple of weeks ago about essentially Plaid's offering is we are competent.
Yeah.
And great, good. It's so sad that that's not a prerequisite. But it'd be really nice to just see like, oh, if I vote for that, then that is what will happen. Or that is like, because I think people actually do get excited by ideas.
Yeah. And then when it's like see someone being proactive, that you want that, I think. And this is where I worry about like the HS2 stuff. And I like with HS2, we're interested because we know what I don't think the voter on the street really gives a shit. I really don't. I think more money for Wales sounds brilliant, but they kind of want to see it in action. And my thought is that unless they can show, right, we're going to reopen this train line or something like that, I don't think enough people know about the HS2 thing to care. And I think waiting list is a perfect one, because if you see your waiting list has gone down from 3 years to this, people can feel that, you know? So I think there needs to be some proactivity.
If it was, imagine if someone, I'm not advocating this particular policy, but imagine if someone said, well, we will fund a tidal lagoon in Wales across the Bristol Channel. I think there's lots of reasons you couldn't do it in the Severn Estuary because of like habitat and stuff, but that is something we are going to do. Obviously there's lots of consideration about something like that, but something like, if you vote for us, this will happen. This is what we will do. We will do everything to get that. And we think that will give Wales a industry of the future, something concrete that you can see. That would be like, oh, okay. Because I'm immersed in it. And I couldn't really tell you, like, Labour are going to continue doing what they're doing, but with their great partnership with Westminster. Plaid are going to be more competent and bring in a Welsh Development Agency and change the structure of the NHS, but we don't know how. The Tories are going to remove 20 miles an hour, like, okay.
And blankets for some reason.
Yeah, and blankets. Yeah, blankets. And Reform are angry. So what a smorgasbord of choice.
Yeah.
And Greens and Lib Dems exist. I'm actually meeting the Green leader soon, so we'll have something special.
That's cool.
On that.
Brilliant.
Prediction I'm going to make is that there will be at least 2 local reform candidates who will be chosen, and something awful will come out about them.
Sure.
Because I already know some of the people that they are tempted, they're considering selecting for certain positions, and I really hope we choose them because I've got loads of stuff.
Brilliant.
I mean, that must be when they've got a long time. It's not like a snap election where you've got to choose 650 candidates. There aren't many, and they can have. Surely there should be background checks going on right now.
Do you think they're going to care enough? Do you think that is their priority?
I don't know if this idea of like we're building a political party, like,
but they have Lee Anderson. Like, I mean, how can you not be like? I mean, you just can't. Basically, he's like the low watermark. Don't be worse than him. Is that like? Do you think that's the standard they aim for?
Don't be worse than Lee. Yeah.
Depressing state of affairs.
But yeah. By the way, if you do have any politicians you'd like to leak dirt about, or prospective politicians, you can email me at will@willhayward.co.uk.
Yeah, if you can CC me in just for gossip. I'd really like
just for
that as
lols.
well.
Yeah, just to dish the tea. Well, people have actually been emailing us since we started this, and DMing, and realistically, we didn't have time to answer them all as we were going, but we do want to answer quite a few of them now, don't we?
Yes, this is a whole section of the podcast about listener questions. So if you've obviously got listener questions for future episodes, the email address is forwalescwales@gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
It is,
forwalescwales@gmail.com.
Or DM us on Instagram. Okay, so the first question that we have is, I hear a lot of my friends and colleagues talk about how Wales is a country in managed decline. Would you agree with that? And if so, what could we be doing better to prosper as a nation?
It's a very good question.
It is, yeah.
I wouldn't say our decline is managed.
Completely just falling off a hill. It's a really good question. I think what it goes back to, this feeling of Wales always underplaying itself, always underdoing itself. Is that the phrase?
Yeah, I suppose being this sort of like perpetual underdog and not
Yes.
asking for things that we deserve. HS2 funding, for example. Decline. Would you say? I suppose, like as we've said before, we're in a vacuum. You know, we're very reliant on the UK, which I suppose you'd also argue is in decline. So how do you then break free of that? I'm sure a lot of Welsh nationalists are screaming, listening to this with one answer. But yeah, I mean, globally, Eurozone, you know, like post financial crash, post pandemic, obviously there's lots of factors, and you know, when you speak to someone like Reen about how would you do this with the same amount of funding in the same, you know, UK state, in the same European state, with the same global economy, it's difficult to go, no, everything's going to be fine if you vote somebody in. I don't really know.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think Wales's challenges reflect a lot of the challenges that a lot of other countries are also facing right now. So I don't think they're unique challenges to Wales. We also have our own ones, 100%, and you know, different parties have different ideas as to how we'd tackle them. I feel my gut is no. My gut is we're not in decline, because I feel like that is too harsh. I would say I think it's prospering, also no. But I don't know if we're in decline, and I think maybe that's an issue, that we're not mobile. Either way, if anything, there's a lot of stagnation. I think there's a lot of things that we could be doing better as a nation. But my feeling is no, we're not in decline.
Yeah, I think, as you say, lots of countries have challenges. They have challenges with demographics and productivity and ageing population, and Wales has those issues, but has them to a greater extent. I think the way that Wales prospers in the future is, at the moment, we have all the disadvantages of a small country, and I don't think we utilise a lot of the advantages of being a small country. Like having essentially being smaller should enable you to innovate quicker. You don't need lots of people to take up something for that to make a meaningful difference, whereas in England you would. So I think if Wales can start to utilise the parts of its smallness for innovation and for, it sounds very management speak, but to be more agile, I think that is the way. I mean, one advantage we have in Wales, we have a distinct culture, we have a distinct language. It is an enormous asset, and we could utilise that in a much better way.
To be prosperous as a nation, it would be nice to think of looking at the ways. Sure, we have, you know, poverty, and you know, a lot of, you know, our demographics have, you know, you can say there are negative traits here compared to England, but we have positive aspects as well, like our makeup of being on the coast and things. Surely looking at the specifics about this nation for positivity surely is a way of prospering.
100%. Okay, so another question we have is, your podcast is the only thing that encourages my teenage son to take even the slightest interest in politics. Shout out. Thanks for listening.
Skibbity toilet.
One for the younger generation there. Don't know what it was. I fear his generation, and even those older than him, are so disengaged with the decisions that affect our lives. What can we do to change this in Wales?
What can engage younger generations? That is a very good question. I think actually it's a very easy thing to say, oh, you've just got to be on things like TikTok and stuff like that. But actually what you need to do is help them meaningfully understand how the decisions made in Welsh politics impact their lives, and also how they can initiate those changes, and how the fact that they know about it will make their lives better. And I think you do that. Firstly, people say, oh, it's on the media to explain. Actually, it's on schools.
Yeah.
Like, you need to, education needs to explain how this works and what difference they can make. But the biggest thing you can do, I think, is have things which are distinctly Welsh in politics. I think whatever you say about the 20 miles an hour, that brought eyes onto Welsh politics. People engaged with it, people discussed it, people talked about it. So doing things and improving the lives of people in Wales is essentially a way that you get younger people to engage. But it is hard, but I think actually it's a schools thing as much as anything.
young people want to be independent. So I think what's more independent than having like actual ways of impacting your own life and feeling like you can make the decisions. I think you're completely right about schools. I mean, I did politics at university. Before that, I don't think I had any politics lessons in my high school in Cardiff. I think, you know, like you don't really have that information there.
The Welsh Government control education, make it really clear to people how it works. Younger people overwhelmingly skew Welsh in terms of identity. Make that mean something in a political sense.
Yeah. Well, it's a huge privilege to not be political. When people say, I don't really engage in politics, it's just not for me. It doesn't affect you. Or rather, anything that happens, you'll probably come out on top and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So it is a huge privilege. And the thing is, people who are younger, they're not, most young people have their family support, they have this, that, and the other, so they don't need to be too political yet. And they become more political as they get older or their politics changes. So I think it does happen naturally, but I think a better understanding of how politics literally affects everything they do will help. And I think it's basically what we've all said. It's education, isn't it? One more question then. Okay. I live in Kansas and think For Wales, See Wales is multiple award worthy. Thank you so much. My question is this. Does a Mid Wales exist? I hear my friends frequently refer to North and South, but not to Mid. As a girl from Mid Wales, we do exist.
Oh, that's a great question.
I think there's North and South Wales for people who live in North and South Wales.
Yeah.
I think essentially it's kind of similar in England. Like, I'm from the Midlands, and when West Brom play Reading, they chant "Dirty Northern Bastards," even though we are the Midlands. So I think it's a way of seeing it. I mean, part of it is Mid Wales is the most depopulated part of Wales.
Okay, yeah.
But Mid Wales is like, I've had family in Trecastle, I had that family in Llandudno Wales. I go to the Royal Welsh Show.
Yeah. I think this misunderstanding happens because we don't maybe have necessarily our own distinct culture. In the same way that North Wales has a very, their own culture. South Wales has its own culture, very distinct of that. And Mid Wales feels like a hybrid.
I feel like in England as well, you have the Northwest and the Northeast because you're stretching these things out more specifically. Whereas Mid Wales, as a sort of like, as a big tummy, like there's a lot of stuff there, right?
Yeah.
Like Montgomeryshire and Aberystwyth, wildly different.
Yes.
So I think
100%.
stretching it into East and West, I think would be much more sensible within the Mid Wales context.
Yeah, and it often gets, in terms of how it's done, in terms of administratively, like you've got Powys Health Board and stuff like that. They are bigger geographic, so they tend to get lumped in together. But I think there is definitely a North-South Wales divide in Wales, but I think Mid Wales so often gets lost in the shuffle, and people from outside that area just see it as the place they drive through in order to get to the other one.
Oh, this hate.
Indeed.
It does.
We're going to do another one of these, another listener questions episode, I think, because we're getting lots and lots. So yeah, keep them coming.
Yes.
And we'll be back next week with a more normal pod.
For Wales, See Wales at gmail.com. Big thanks to HayMan Media for producing the podcast. I'm Will Hayward.
I'm Mel Owen.
I'm Robin Morgan. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ta-ra.